Hello, hello, my beautiful people. Welcome back to Real Estate Bites. This is episode number 32. Today, after statistics, we are going to talk to a friend of the show, Jay Slone, about his journey into entrepreneurship. And so, before we get into that, of course, we always touch on our statistics. So let us get into statistics right now for this past week. All right, all right. So the current number of homes on the market, 319, just two more units of inventory are on over last week. We talked a lot last week about inventory, about what that means and how it affects prices and what we think might happen to prices because of demand, supply and demand considerations. And you can see that the demand is still there. 44 closings last week is not the highest. It's not the lowest. It's pretty close to the lowest, but we're in a range between 35 to 65 a week, basically. So we're right in there in line there with 44 closings. So demand remaining flat, inventory remaining low. That means home prices are probably going to be pretty sticky where they're at. Median square foot for sales last week was 1,622 square feet. The median home value was $225,500. The median square foot price was $143.52. Last week I talked about how I have been fruitlessly and pointlessly watching the sale price to list price ratio, and how I thought that was a good indicator as to what's going on with home values. And I eliminated that statistic this week once I realized that I was wasting my and your time doing it. And so the metric that I am going to start paying closer attention to is this column right here, median square foot price. That seems to be the one sensible metric to really pay close attention to, because these median home values, they're going to jump. They're going to change based upon what's selling where, et cetera, et cetera. But if we take a close look at median square foot cost, I think that is going to be a great real-time indicator of what's going on. And what I intend to do is, at the end of the month, we're going to take a look at the average of these square foot values, and then start to track that quarter by quarter. What's going on quarterly with square foot values? All right, very good. Back into it. The average amount of time spent on market for listings last week was 46. You can see that average days on market is pretty consistent. And we got some relief on interest rates over the past couple of days. The market opened at 6.92% for a 30-year conventional note. Of course, if you go FHA, you can do a little bit better than that, but for conventional, 6.92%. So the highest priced sale this past week was $712,000 in the city of Avon. And we are going to go over to realtor.com and take a look at that closing. So here it is. We are on Emery Court. Make sure I'm showing. Yes, I am. 4-bed, 3.5 bath, 4,287 square feet. Nice, big, beautiful home on nearly a half-acre lot. You can see $166 per square foot. So that is above last week's median. But if you look back at stats, it is right in line. We've seen that kind of median square foot value often. Built 20 years ago, 3-car garage. Let's take a look at what this beauty looks like inside. Beautiful, beautiful. Pretty standard finishes for what we're expecting to see in these neighborhoods and these price points. 20 years old, obviously well kept, well loved. So your kitchen opens up to your living room, 4 bedrooms up, full bath on the main level. You have a study with built-in bookshelves. Now that's fun. That's a nice, big, beautiful master bath. uh, different, entirely separate cabinets and sinks for the him and the her. Hers comes with a nice vanity. You can see that bench there. You've got your jacuzzi tub in between. That's a beautiful bathroom. Gigantic shower. Very, very nice home. Nice, beautiful finished basement as well. You have a media room down there. There's your basement. Wet bar down there. Love the television behind the bar. So a beautiful home on Emory Drive, right off Jaycox there in Avon. Beautiful little neighborhood over there. All right. So we are done with statistics. I've talked a decent amount in the past about wealth building, about good people creating greater things for themselves and their families. And today I have the honor of inviting a good friend of mine and a highly trusted industry partner who has decided to make a big change. So the industry news of the week is my friend Jay Slone opening up his own mortgage brokerage. Let's bring Jay on into the studio. Mr. Slone, you're on. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing great, Jonathan. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. So you recently opened your own mortgage brokerage called Legacy Home Finance. Yes, sir?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Very
Man,
exciting stuff, man.
it is very exciting, dude. And I got to tell you, you know, when I started this, I've told this story in the past. When I started doing real estate sales, very early on, I began to look for industry partners who were also new at the game, new loan officers, inspectors, things like this. And my thought process back then was that I was going to partner with these newer people, and I was going to bring them leads and they bring me leads, and we build this thing up together and we create this amazing alliance that would go on in perpetuity, and we would do these great things. And Jay, what I found was they didn't know what the hell they were doing. And so I backed off that real quick and decided, forget new people. I need people who know what they're doing. I'll generate my own leads, and I will. I just need people who know what they're doing. And when you came around with your home financial, and taking a flyer on Jay Sloan was one of the best moves that I made in my real estate career, because you quickly became one of my most trusted and dependable industry partners, and soon after a friend. And I am very grateful for that relationship. So you have been doing this for how long now?
What's crazy, brother, is I will, and thank you for all those kind words. I absolutely appreciate you giving me a shot.
All sincere.
Afterwards, again, we developed a friendship. So thanks again for that as well. Means even more to me than our business relationship. Now, one thing I will say, so I started back 22 years ago when I was 19 years old, brother. So
Yeah, yeah.
I started 2 days after my 19th birthday. I got hired in at my
Wow.
first brokerage job after being shot down from, I probably had 7 to 10 interviews, and nobody would hire some 19-year-old kid that just wanted to sell stuff. Just because I had
Mhm.
no idea on finances. I was fresh out of high school. And I knew two things. Number one, I wanted to work with people, and I wanted to make an impact somehow financially in the financial services industry. So, a brokerage by the name of Heartland Home Finance, which happened to be the largest mortgage broker in the country in the early 2000s, gave me my shot, and that was it. And then that's all she wrote. Became a broker, and got addicted, and that was that.
But that wasn't quite all she wrote, man, because you went on from Heartland. You've been with a number of different brokers. You were with
Yeah,
Quicken Loans for some time, who is one of the juggernauts in the mortgage lending industry. And
yeah,
you eventually ran a large team, one of the larger ones in the nation, if I recall correctly.
yeah.
And so
My team was
you
up
you
to, at one point, I had 25 loan officers, and we were doing about $1 billion a year, roughly,
a
in production.
billionaire. That's incredible. So you have run the whole gamut, and now you've reached a point in your career where you decided that you wanted to open your own brokerage. So tell me the thought process that went into that. What led you to breaking
Um,
out on your own and taking all the risk?
that's a great question. So a few things, as you get older, you start to think about where you're headed and where you're going. And I think, for me personally and professionally, I was starting to just get, I've had some great runs and I've worked for some great companies, as you've mentioned. And my run at Rocket was fantastic, and it built me into, a better business owner, better loan officer, better communicator, and a lot of those things. And every opportunity that I've ever had working at different companies, I've taken a lot away from it and built something on top of that. And it just something told me that I was ready, man. I've developed a lot of strong relationships in the community, in the Northeast Ohio area, right? And I just felt it was time for me to step out on my own. And as you mentioned, a lot of the companies I've worked for, I've been spending time building brands for other places. And I just felt, nobody in my family owns a business. Nobody has created really a legacy, if you will, of wealth or how to build wealth or anything like that in my family. So I figured, you know what, I need to be the first. And in working for all these other places, I've done a great job of growing their brand and making their brand stronger and making their following stronger. And I just said, you know what? There was nothing really that happened, so to speak. It was just time for me. Like something said, you know what? I need to not look back when I'm 60, because I'm going to be 42 this year, and be like, man, okay, I'm at the end of my run, probably, right? I didn't build anything for me. Yeah, I had a great career and I made some money, but I didn't build anything to pass on to my kids if they want to go do something or to sell or to create generational wealth. I'm kind of just working I'm doing a service for the community, don't get me wrong, but I'm still working a job for a company, right? Whereas entrepreneurship is the true owning of a business and building a brand and doing all of those things. And I just felt like, it was time, and that's where my passion led me, man. So that it was time to do that.
I tell you what, your whole business has been focused on taking care of people. The thing that one of the things I noticed early on in my working relationship with you is when things came up within the course of a deal, problematic things, whatever they might be, you were relentless in finding a solution. And there's always a solution, right? And
Right.
people who don't want to work hard, they typically mail it in. They'll let somebody else figure it out, or they'll let it die on the vine. But you would make all the calls necessary. You would continue working until we found a solution. And so I just know that uh, that's not going to change. And because you are customer focused, Legacy Home Finance is going to be a success, man. So talk to me about this. Like you obviously spent time planning and thinking. What were some of the surprises? What were some of the hurdles that you had to jump over that kind of were not expected in opening your own brokerage? How'd that process go, man? Walk me through it.
Um, the amount of legalese that's involved. Everybody thinks that, brokers or, lenders are just, we're not regulated. Goodness. I mean, we are so regulated. So the amount of paperwork and planning and policies and procedures and recovery, documentation and plans and that I had to generate and put in place with attorneys and legal staff was pretty extensive. Also, just the cost of everyday business is not cheap. So, one thing that threw me was the amount that credit reporting services have gone up. That was a hurdle, and just trying to dial that in, just to make sure that you know my cost or one of the reasons too, just to go back to this too, is the reason that I opened the company is I felt like mortgages are becoming more and more expensive as larger lenders continue to move in and act like mom and pop places. You know what I mean? Like, and I did it for a long time, but there gets a point to where there's so many layers of leadership and processes and people that you start to pay more for things. And the reason also,
Mm.
obviously, I wanted to create a company for myself, but also I want to do something that's cost effective for people where I can make a good living, like just like I was as an LO, but pass on some of those savings back to the buying community, right? And in turn,
Real
you
quick,
have to
Jay,
be
real quick.
cognizant. Yeah.
So, so what you're saying there is, when you're working with, one of these giants, I mean, in which you've worked for a couple giants,
Hmm.
Quick and Rocket being the easiest example. But when they get so big, because there's so many layers of bureaucracy and whatnot, well, that costs money to run that
Mhm.
organization, which eventually means additional costs that are passed on to the customer, right?
Yeah, either an interest rate or origination fees or things like that. And that's why, there's a significant difference between broker and retail nowadays. And more retail shops and more retail loan officers are looking at broker opportunities just because they don't feel like the customer, at least I don't, should be paying exorbitant closing costs to buy their first property or multiple, whatever it is. So going back to your original question of, I just wanted to tie those two together.
We lost audio, Jay. Can't hear you. Hey, Jay, can you hear me? We can't hear you. No. Nope. Nope. So while Jay's figuring out his technical stuff, I uh, I encourage everybody um, to look for this sort of opportunity in their own lives, some sort of entrepreneurial spirit. Still can't hear you, brother. Where even if it's
How about now?
we got you back, we got you back. I was just telling the folks at home, work towards creating a little something, something on your own. You don't have to go and open up your own brokerage, your own business, but at a minimum, a side hustle, a second stream of income, just in case hard times hit you in your primary source of income. You got that side income that you can really lean into to support yourself and your family. Let's
Right.
circle back to Jay Sloan talking about
So yeah, and I'm
we
sorry for the
we
interruption. I did follow your advice and put my phone on do not disturb. I guess I didn't do it right. I don't know. Calls still came through. I don't know. Do not disturb doesn't work for me, I guess. Um,
okay.
but getting back to it, I mean, I chose to be able to have more control just to get, to the point, more cost over my cost structure and what we charge as a company instead of always having somebody having control over that. Right. So if I need to get skinny on a deal to make it work, if I need to do something to make it work around, the answer is not no. And I need to go to management to say, hey, can I please have this on this to help this loan close? Instead, I can make the executive decision on what I do or don't do in order to make that deal work, right? And if it makes sense for the business, I'll get it done. But getting back to what was surprising is the state's care and how much they actually look into and qualify their brokers and their mortgage entities in the state of Ohio. I thought they did a great job. They vetted me. They asked a lot of good questions, and they made sure that I wasn't just somebody opening, some fugazi mortgage shop, right? They made sure I was a
And when
real
you talk about
professional.
that legalese, Jay, in the mountain of paperwork that you had to do and
Yeah,
submit, was that all to the state?
yeah. Yeah. I mean, also to my lending partners too. So I now have over a dozen lenders that I can do business with that are all top rated lenders in the entire country that now I can shop around and get a client the best deal, which is something we can get into in a moment. But even they vet you. They make sure that you're financially stable. They make sure that you have experience in the business and they make sure you know what you're doing and don't have any, financial crimes against you and all of these things. So trust me when I say that, the brokers and the people that represent you are well vetted in the state for sure. So that was a little surprising to me.
Excellent.
I thought it was going to be a little easier, but it was not.
So then tell me about that. How much time did you spend planning before you pulled the trigger? And then from that moment you pulled the trigger and you took the very first action step towards opening your own brokerage, how much time was how much time passed before you actually were live and ready to go and originate loans with Legacy Home Finance?
That's a great question. So the ramp up was, I spent about 6 months working on my brand, working on preparation, preparing properly. I did a lot up front to make sure that I was ready when the time came to pull the plug and kind of go all in. So I spent 6 months on all of those making sure that my loan origination system was the best, making sure that my pricing engine was all my systems could connect. My process flow, I had processing teams picked out. So the moment that I started originating, I had a great support staff to help me provide still the best quality of service that I could, right? So all of those little things behind the scenes that I did, I spent about 6 months on. Now, as far as waiting on the state, working with the state on my application took about 60 days. From start to finish, submitting, hiring an attorney, having them draw up my paperwork and my plans, and working with them and getting everything approved. And then once I literally got approved, which was on February 9th, my state license was approved. I had to obviously resign from Keller Home Loans at that time, and by within 1 week, I was able to close and originate and close my first deal. So 2/9, I was approved by the state. 2/20, I took my first formal application. So because of Memorial Day, or I'm sorry, President's Day. And actually yesterday was my first closing on 3/7. So within 2 weeks time of being open for business, I've already closed my first loan, which I'm very happy
Congratulations,
about.
sir.
Thank you very
Yes,
much.
sir. Yeah. Yeah, man. That's
So, and
awesome.
just if I could add a
Uh,
quick plug here, it was also down payment assistance, first time home buyer, start to close with an appraisal in 15 days.
that's crazy.
That's
That's
crazy.
that's that's
Thank you.
crazy
I
fast.
had to throw it out there because that's
That's
pretty awesome.
crazy.
That's pretty
Hey, man.
awesome.
So you spent 6 months, and knowing Jay, you spent 6 months looking at the upside, the downside, everything in between, behind your back. You had everything planned from all your costs and what it was going to cost to start up. You had planned what your every day was going to look like as a brand new mortgage broker on your own. Um, and despite all that, I'm sure now you're into this, a month, right? You opened up a month tomorrow.
Mhm.
Um, what changes or have you already made since opening up? Right? How has your plan shifted even just a little bit since opening up? Because they always do.
Um, I would say my plans. I mean, my focus is definitely um, always been organic business. So one thing that I thought that I was going to start doing maybe right away was hiring. Um, so I guess that would be it. I was like, okay, after I get my
Hmm.
first 30 days, I'm going to start recruiting a team and I'm going to start building a real team like of elite loan officers. And that is not happening. So not, I don't mean that like in a bad way. It's just, I want to perfect all the little things. And trust me, closing an OFA loan in 15 days, obviously nothing's wrong with my process. But the point is I want to make sure that I have all my lenders set up. I have everything in place. So like when I hire somebody, I can actually train them on my processes and procedures easily. And then it's just bring your pipeline, plug and play, let's go and let's grow something together versus, you know, kind of having people fumble through anything. So I want to kind of go through the growing pains, if you will, of making sure I understand everything before I trust somebody to help me grow, uh, have somebody trust me to help them grow their business. So I thought I was going to grow a lot faster to answer your question. But now I'm going to take a
Hmm.
step back and I'm going to wait about 90 days and make sure I'm good, and I feel very, very comfortable. And then because I don't want it to take away from anything that I'm doing while I recruit and do things, you know what I mean? So I just don't want to spread myself too thin, so to speak, before I decide to take on leadership. Because for those that don't know me out there, I'm a all in type of guy. So I'm 2 feet into stuff. I don't go half anything. So if I decided I'm going to grow a team again, I'm going to be all in. If I decide I'm going to open a company, I'm going to be all in. So I want to make
Well,
sure my
man,
focus is there.
I've got to wrap soon, but I've got one more question for you before we go, and that
Yeah.
is, I know when you sit back and you dream and you visualize what legacy home finance looks like in the future. Uh, give me an idea of what that picture looks like when you sit back and you're dreaming of where this boat ride takes you to. What's it look like, man?
Um, that's a great question. So I want to grow this company into being the mortgage company that's relied on in Northeast Ohio. I want to be the
Mhm.
brand that people, when they think mortgage, they think Legacy Home Finance. They think that there's no other place to go to get the service, the rate cost combination, and also they know that we care about our community. My goal is to reinvest in community programs and to do several things to impact families and underserved communities in Northeast Ohio as well. So I want to create something that's actually going to have a legacy long after I'm not here. So that's the
Amazing,
goal.
Jay. I thank you so much for coming on and joining me today. I'm super proud of you as a friend, as a business associate, for what you've done, the
Thank
risk
you,
you've
brother.
taken on. Man, I have nothing but confidence in you, my friend. And I wish you, as you know, the very, very best. So, again, thanks for coming on and sharing your story.
Hey, thanks for always being supportive, brother. I really appreciate you, and thanks everybody for listening.
Of course, yeah. And for all you folks out there who joined us again this week, um, listen, take care of yourselves, take care of one another. I love you, people.
All right, bye.